يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. إنا عرضنا الأمانة على السماوات والأرض والجبال فأبين أن يحملنها وأشفقن منها وحملها الإنسان إنه كان ظلوما جهولا. ليعذب الله المنافقين والمنافقات والمشركين والمشركات ويتوب الله على المؤمنين والمؤمنات وكان الله غفورا رحيما.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My beloved viewers and followers of the program Or You Will Believe, I want to welcome you once again to the 64th episode of our weekly online program. We thank Almighty Allah who has given us the opportunity to be here again today. And we pray that Allah make our attendance, our efforts today, and the program entirely, may Allah make it count towards Mizan al-Khair, our scale of good deeds on the day of accountability. So here we are again and I want to welcome you to a program that is going to be fantabulous today, inshallah bi kudratillah. So get your friends, families, send them a message, tell them the program is live and we are starting now. Please subscribe to our Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram pages or channels. Please subscribe so that you also get notification when the program is running live. Quick announcement. If the Media We Are Mind program for our youth is still on and is actually reaching the production stages right now. The young people will be learning how to produce media programs, whether the technicalities of it, the intellectual part of it, etc. They are now getting to the production stages. So it's not too late. The children can join. So enroll them on the If the Media We Are Mind program. We also have the Global Funds sponsored employability training that is ongoing now. That training is very important for those who want to have a career move. Now our masjid is finally coming down so that inshallah it can grow back up to the 6th floor that we intend it to be. So we were thanking all the volunteers and we're still encouraging you that the fundraising is still needed and is still ongoing. Please do your best to help us build our masjid. We want to thank all the volunteers who have been volunteering, and we want to announce that the mosque, the temporary place for the mosque, is almost ready. Inshallah, stay with us. So let's go straight to the Quran recitation for today. It will be read by our brother, Muhammad Sharifuddin Sadiq. Muhammad Sharifuddin Sadiq. Please start us off with the Quran recitation for today. Is brother Muhammad Sadiq there?
Sadiq, please unmute yourself and do your recitation.
Muhammad Sadiq? Can you spotlight him? Please.
It appears maybe he's having some technical problem. It's there, but it's not on. Sadiq, unmute yourself. I've asked you to unmute. So if you can just press on the microphone and unmute yourself.
Okay, so if he's really struggling, perhaps is there any volunteer in the house to lead us in the recitation of the Quran to start off today's program?
Perhaps the deputy imam helper.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نون والقلم وما يسطرون ما أنت بنعمة ربك بمجنون وإن لك لأجرا غير ممنون وإنك لعلى خلق عظيم فستبصر ويبصرون بأيكم المفتون إن الله هو أعلم بمن ضل عن سبيله هو أعلم بالمهتدين صدق الله العليم.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. May Allah continue to bless you, our Deputy Imam. May Allah forgive you all of your shortcomings and count you amongst the beloved of Allah. And may Allah continue to elevate you in this world and in the hereafter. Barakallahu fi. So today, inshallah, we are going on to a very exciting discussion. And I'm going to hand over to our father, Professor Moshud Baderi, to moderate today's program. Bismillah, ya Sheikh.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you so much, Madam Shams, for signing us on. And I'm also happy to welcome every one of us to this week's version of All You Who Believe. And I also want to seek your pardon for my absence last week. And alhamdulillah, today we will be discussing a very important topic, alhamdulillah. And we've brought an expert on that topic. I mean, it's about marriage. Our speaker today will be talking about the pains and pleasures in marriage. And there has been a lot of, talks about marriage recently. I mean, many organizations are talking about it, and it's important. We should do that because marriage is a very, very important institution in Islam. I mean, we all know as Muslims, it is only through marriage that we can procreate. And procreation is part of the design of Allah, you know, as Allah says in Surah An-Nisa, as we know. So it's very, very important that we should work at it and make it viable. And for us to be able to do that, we need to really appreciate it and be able to identify how to deal with the pains and also the pleasures in marriage. Now, the speaker today, just give me 1 minute, please. It appears my system is playing up a little bit. Okay, alhamdulillah. Our speaker today is, Ustaz Dr. Abdul Fattah Adeyemi. He is a transformational marriage coach and Muslim motivational speaker for both singles and couples. He is the founder and director of an organization called Bainakum Family Consulting Center in Abuja, in Nigeria. He's also director of arts, counseling, and culture at the International Center for Islamic Culture and Education, also in Abuja. He is also indicated as an ambassador for peace. He gives a lot of lectures. He has given over 200 lectures, Islamic lectures on various topics. And he is very much involved in counseling, especially couples, and also, preaching, giving Islamic sermons, and also writing, teaching and learning. And if you don't find him doing these at a particular point in time, you most likely find him to be involved either in spending quality time with his family or working on his Islamic arts. Yes, there's Islamic arts as well. Or presenting Islamic programs on TV and radio, and also either collaborating with other stakeholders to keep the youth off drugs. So he does a lot of work for community, and one of his main forays is counseling on marriage issues. So his topic today, as I mentioned, is pains and pleasures in marriage. It affects every one of us. He's the only speaker today, so we have quite a time to discuss this. So we'll, allow him to speak straight for perhaps maybe 30 minutes, and then we'll open the ground for contributions from both in-house scholars and also other participants on the program before we then come for questions. So we have a lot of time to be able to discuss this important topic today. So without taking too much further time, I want to welcome Ustaz Abdul Fattah Adeyemi. May Allah reward you and grant you reward. May Allah put this in your mizan al-khair, and also may Allah make it easy for you to communicate with us on this important topic. So Bismillah, falyatafaddal mashkura.
Yeah, please, if you're there, you can please raise your hands.
Assalamu alaikum. He's just going to join now. Unfortunately, he hasn't received the link to join, and he has been waiting for it. So I've just contacted him now. He's just joining.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, sometimes you have this technical hitches, and today appears to be one of those days, inshallah. So let's give our speaker a few minutes to join us. And so, I mean, as I said while I was introducing Ustaz Abdul Fattah Adeyemi, marriage is a very, very important, institution. You know, in Surah An-Nisa, as I mentioned, and we do say this all the time when we are conducting marriages, Allah talks about the fact that, you know, He created all human beings from Adam, and then He created his wife from him. And Allah says, وَبَثَّ مِنْهُمَا رِجَالًا كَثِيرًا وَالنِّسَاءَ. And from the two of them, Allah created a whole lot of male and females. That is, so from Adam and Eve, Adam and Hawa, human beings started to procreate, you know, and this will continue until the end of time. But in Islam, we do all understand that we cannot procreate except within a legitimate marriage. So this is why the marriage institution is important. And we need to understand, sometimes it has its ups and downs. There are pains and pleasures in it. I used to tell a lot of people that if your marriage is working, there's nothing as pleasurable as it. Even the Prophet said it. You know, some of our children, some of our young ones who sing, you know, they used to sing, they say, "Mimba di ilmin wa tuqa imra'atun salihah." That is, after you have acquired knowledge and God consciousness, the next thing that actually makes your life pleasurable is to have, you know, a good wife, a God-fearing wife. So it's very, and similarly, even a woman, even a man, a God-fearing husband as well. So alhamdulillah, I'm told that our guest speaker is here now. Ustaz Abdul Fattah Adeyemi, you are most welcome. I've done the introduction, and we are really thankful to you for your time. May Allah put this in your mizan al-khair. So let me give the floor to you to speak on your topic, pains and pleasures in marriage, for the first 30 minutes, and then we'll take contributions from other people's experience from in-house, inshallah. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa
barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. So happy to be here in your meeting. Assalamu alaikum also. And all of my brothers and sisters there, I'm so delighted to be here. May Almighty Allah continue to bless you. May Allah continue to support and sustain you. All the good works that you are doing, may Almighty Allah reward you abundantly. I want to apologize quickly for stepping behind schedule. I was just returning from work, and I needed to sort myself up before I could join you like this. Please forgive me and please bear with me.
Alhamdulillah.
All the same, thank you very much, Prof. All the same, we are happy that we are here. The topic of discussion, I call it discussion because it is something I really wish all of us will still look at, holistically. And marriage or marital things or family life is an experience of everyone. We all have experienced it in one form or the other. Incidentally, one person's experience may not be exactly like the experience of another person. And so that's why we may not have a template for measuring what is painful in marriage or what is actually pleasurable in marriage. For some people, what is painful is a pleasure to some, and what's a pleasure to some is a pain for some others. Allah Akbar. May Almighty Allah let our own pleasures be much more than whatever pain we experience. In life also, like we all know, you cannot have it all smooth. You cannot have it all good. There'll be instances and situations where things may not work out the way we want it to be. So it gives us a lot of pain. Sometimes pain has a way of teaching us some lessons or making us understand what is it that hurts, what is it that is not good, what is it that is as a result of consequences of some of the things we have done. Sometimes what we consider to be painful are just the necessary lessons that we have to learn from some of this. Sometimes we make not so good choices. Sometimes we make outrightly wrong choices. And sometimes other people choose for us. Now, let's take it from the beginning. You realize that if we were to combine three things and we make them to stay in twos, which and which are we going to put together? If we have a tree, we have a bird, and we have a snake. These three elements, or these three things, let me use that word, how do we group them in such a way that we're going to feel comfortable about it? For some people, because I said a tree, a bird, and a snake, they can think in form of, okay, let's put what is like together with what is like. They may begin to combine the snake and the bird on one side and the tree on the other side. And if you ask them why, they will say because the bird and the snake are both animals, and the tree is not an animal, it's from another kingdom entirely. That is one way of reasoning. For some others, they can think of, okay, the bird and the tree, they can be on one side because there's something that sounds synonymous with the bird and the tree. When we imagine a bird perching on a tree or a bird building the nest in the tree. And then we also have the snake aside. That's another reasoning. Some other people will think that, okay, let's have the snake and the tree because the snake is terrestrial and the tree is also rooted in the soil. Let's group them together so that the bird can continue to fly around in the sky. Some other people can think like that. If you were to look at it, which one should be which? If we bring this analogy to marital life, which of them is compatible to stay together? Incidentally, as almost rhetorical as these questions are, you get to see that the people's way of thinking sometimes determine what combinations they actually make in the choices they make in life. For somebody who can say, okay, let the snake and the bird stay on one side and the tree on one side, what is going to happen to the snake and the bird? Apart from say they are both animals, from animal kingdom, there doesn't seem to be anything so spectacular about them being around. In fact, it is possible that the snake will eat the bird someday. When people make choices in life, sometimes they put these kind of things together and it's all painful all throughout. No matter how much of regard they have for one another, the snake may eat the bird someday. It's not very common to see a bird that eats the snake, except for an eagle that is devouring a small snake, so to speak. In terms of compatibility, some people will say, okay, you are educated, I'm educated. You are an animal, I'm an animal. You are an elite, I'm an elite. You are from a rich family, I'm also from a rich family. What other thing do people use in, compartmentalizing themselves due to some of these societal stratas we have, the way we organize ourselves in the society? Many people look at certain compatibilities, quote and unquote, whereas these compatibilities are actually deadly for them. So it's going to be pain throughout. For some, they may say, okay, let's put the tree and the snake together and let the bird roam free, what do we benefit from the relationship of the snake and the tree? Apart from the snake just climbing the tree, I can't think of any other advantage. There's nothing the snake actually, I mean, there's nothing the tree actually benefit from the snake. The snake can, crawl up and get some things to eat, crawl up and hunt an animal that lives in the tree. The snake can, what other thing can the snake do with the tree? Just constitute terror around the tree. But apart from that, there doesn't seem to be any real benefit that the tree is going to benefit from the snake, whereas the snake may likely benefit for the tree only temporarily, so much so that the snake can just get whatever it needs to eat or hunt from the tree, and then the snake will crawl away back to its hole where it actually belongs. In marriages, some people's choices of that resembles the relationship between the snake and the tree is sometimes so parasitic to the extent at the end of it all, some people feel used, some people feel abused, some people feel taken advantage of, some people feel, so you only married me just to derive benefit from me, and then you use me and then you dump me. Then matters of betrayal comes in. Are you with me? Then matters of
Yes.
betrayal will come in and things will start going wrong. This is another scenario of wrong choices that people make that constitute pain in their lives. We have the third option, which is when we combine the tree and the bird together, and then we allow the snake to crawl away on its own. If you look at it very well, you get to see that, well, it is nice if the bird is able to build a nest in the tree. The bird will feel at home. The bird will feel satisfied. The bird will feel, there's a sort of compatibility between them. And as a result of that, it seems to me that the best of the combinations out of these three would be the relationship between the bird and the tree. For people who look at marriage in this form, they have a lot more of pleasure. They are protected with one another. They are, they are housed in one another, and they bring a lot of goodness and benefit towards each other. This, in my own opinion, is one of the reasons or one of the ways through which people can derive benefit from their relationship, and of course, they can derive pleasure from that relationship. Now, having tried to understand that, Almighty Allah says in the glorious Quran, according to the verse I heard Professor discussing before I stepped in, that is Quran chapter 30, verse 21, where Allah says, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Thank you. Almighty Allah says, amongst his signs is this, that he has created for you mates from amongst yourselves, so that you might find tranquility and peace in one another. And Allah has put love and mercy between your hearts. Indeed, in these are signs for those who reflect. Allahu Akbar. If we look at this verse very well, we get to see that it is among the great signs of Almighty Allah that he has brought husband and wife together, that Allah has combined two people from amongst ourselves. If Allah had asked us to, to marry from among the angels, well, it's not going to be very easy, because you marry somebody who has wings all over the place. That incompatibility will be too obvious for a human being to marry an angel. I don't think it's going to be a nice combination. What if Allah has asked us to marry amongst the animals? We are going to be giving birth to what we can refer to as botanical monstrosity. We will be giving birth to monsters instead of normal being, if human beings were to marry animals. What if human beings were to marry the jinns? Then you can't even see the jinn. Imagine the husband cannot see the wife, or the wife cannot see the husband. How would they copulate? How would they give birth to children? It's going to be another problem entirely. But Allah says we should marry from amongst ourselves. Let the like marry the like. Let a human marry a human. And that's why Allah says we have created for you mates from amongst yourselves. This person marrying person takes us back to this example of the snake and the tree and the bird we were talking about. When there is gross incompatibility in couples, in husband and wife, in the way they choose each other, incompatibility can be very obvious from beginning, and sometimes people grow into incompatibility when their lives are not the same. They grow like a tree, Allahu Akbar. They grow like a tree, and this tree eventually have two branches. The husband goes this way, the wife goes that way. They may be in the same tree, and they may both hold on to the same trunk. But when the trees branch here and there, they don't ever meet again. Has anybody ever seen a tree that grows into branches and then the branches now meet again and continue as a trunk? No, it doesn't happen. Some people, it's in the course of marriage that they begin to grow, far apart from one another. The incompatibility becomes apparent because of life dictates, because of livelihood, because of way of life, because of the persons they either of them associate with, the kind of friends that the man suddenly when he joins some group of friends and they make him to turn his back against his family. Some women also, they could have been very loving and caring with their husbands. After a while, they follow some bad groups and bad friends, and these friends influence them to grow in incompatibility with their husband. Sometimes these pains are they are preceded by the fact that some people decide to grow and some people decide not to grow. In life, we all have the tendency and the opportunity to grow spiritually, to grow economically sometimes, to also grow intellectually most of the time, and in many other facets of life, including financially. When the time to grow spiritually, intellectually, and emotionally comes, some people are quite slow in growth than some people. Some people are slower than some people. And when this matter happens, what's going to happen? You get to see that they don't just meet up again. The wife suddenly becomes more religious and the husband begins to go down spiritually. The incompatibilities become circumstantial, and you get to see that the people who are loving and caring, they turn around to become something else against one another. So when the Quran says among the signs of Allah is that he has created for you mates from amongst yourselves, it is so that you may do things together and you may hold some principles together in common that is going to sustain the continuity, the quality, and the sustainability of that marriage. Some marriages have good qualities in them, and some marriages have stability in them. Some marriages are only good quality, but they are not stable. And some marriages are, they are stable, but they are not good quality. The best way to go about it to reduce whatever painful thing people experience in marriage is for people to combine the two. Quality, that's qualitative marriage together, and then stability in the marriage. So many things affect the stability of marriage, and this incompatibility I've been emphasizing it is a very serious aspect of what brings about instability in marriages. Then Allah now proceeds to say, "Litaskunu ilayha," so that you can find peace and tranquility in one another. What are the things that can make somebody to find peace? What are the things that can make someone to find tranquility? Any marriage that you see that doesn't guarantee peace of mind and tranquility for either and both of the both players in the marriage, that marriage is not working. Any marriage that doesn't guarantee peace, that doesn't guarantee tranquility, that doesn't give rest of mind, that marriage is not working, that marriage is not functioning. Something is wrong with that marriage. And see, it gets very painful when the person you love and trust doesn't give you the rest of mind that you want. Problems, strifes, quarrels, keeping malice, unresolved differences, matters of third parties, so many things that come around, including faithlessness, lack of iman in Almighty Allah. All of these things are part of the things that make people not to have rest of mind, not to have peace of mind. And then the Quran now goes ahead to say that if you want to have peace and rest of mind, you need two things. And that's why Allah says, وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And Allah has put love and mercy between your heart. Love and mercy. These two things we have mentioned, Allah Akbar. Many people are not taught how to love or how to show love. And many people don't understand what it means to be merciful. Sometimes our problem is that we have reduced the whole of marriage into rules of do's and don'ts. You must do this, you must not do that. This is what it must be, that's what it must not be. We have reduced it to chores. We have reduced it to, just going by the rules. Marriages should go beyond that. Should go beyond, okay, they say I should provide food for you, I provided food. They say I should give you money, I've given you money. What else? They say I should stay in the home, I've stayed at home. They say we should do bedroom business. Okay, I've done bedroom business. It goes beyond all of that. Love and mercy are things we practice. Love and mercy are things that we do. Love is what we feel, and a person must learn how to feel this love. But there's no love if there's no mercy. There cannot be any mercy if there's no love. Should I say that again? There cannot be love without mercy, and there can't be mercy without love. Love can be latent on its own, but the way you can show love to somebody is by when you show mercy to that person. Love is the feeling, love is latent, love is the potential, love is the quality you should have. But for you to actualize this love, you have to learn how to show mercy to one another. Because if you don't show mercy, then you don't really love the person like that. How would somebody say he loves a woman and he beats her? How will a woman say she loves her husband and she's not loyal towards him? Love and mercy, as seriously as they are, love is just like somebody cannot say a person is generous. A person can have money. If a person has money, we can say the person is rich. That's what we say. But we cannot say that person is generous until when he begins to spend that money. Are you following me now? We can say somebody is learned by virtue of the person's qualification. But we cannot say the person is wise until when you see him put that knowledge to practice. The same thing with love. We cannot say somebody is merciful until when he's practicing that love. And the way the person will practice the love is by showing mercy to somebody else. So these two things go hand in hand. It eludes a lot of people. Some people don't know, and some people know it, but they don't know how to practice it. For a person to have love, that is the meaning of being a human being. Take note of that. Human being. That's who we are. We are bashar. That is human being. But to show mercy is to be called a human doing. A human doing. That is from human being to human doing. You are not just going to belatedly be a human being. You are supposed to also do a human doing. Practice being a human being. That is what we mean by human doing. These two things that I'm emphasizing, love and mercy, I want you all to help me look at it holistically. If the two of them are missing in a marriage, they will become peaceful. Let us look at it. What pain can we have? Life has its own pain also generally. But when it comes to marriages have its own pain too, in one form or the other. But whenever these painful times come to marriage, because every marriage will always have their own trying time, whenever these pains come, it is our understanding of being loving and being caring and being merciful that can actually help us to overcome this pain that we feel. Pains that comes out of malice, pains that comes out of, wanton stubbornness that doesn't lead anywhere. pain that comes out of lack of expression of the love that we have professed to ourselves, lack of understanding of our nature as human beings. Pains come when people are ignorant about one another. You don't know yourself, talk less of knowing your partner, talk less of knowing your, you don't, if a person doesn't know what it is to go through life, then this pain will always be there. So what are the medicines for pain? We need two things to fight against pain and to be able to bring pleasure to our lives. We need knowledge and we need wisdom. Knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge about what Allah and His Rasul have said. Knowledge about human nature, about human life, about human feelings. Knowledge about what happens to a woman. A man has to know his wife. He has to know what she does. He has to know how she behaves, and he has to know how to live with her. Knowledge, a woman has to know her husband, know his moods, know the things he wants, the things he doesn't want. If a woman has this knowledge and a man is possessing this knowledge, then he needs the wisdom to know how to live together with one another. What I mean by wisdom? Knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit, but wisdom is knowing that you don't add tomato in fruit salad. Do you want me to say it again? Knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit, and wisdom is understanding that you don't add tomato in fruit salad. It takes a lot of wisdom to be able to avoid the painful aspect of marriage and to be able to hold on to the, to the pleasurable aspect of marriage. One of the reasons why we must understand this concept also very well is because the Quran tells us that Nisa'ukum harthul lakum fa'tu harthakum anna shi'tum. Your wives are like farmlands for you. Go into your farmland whenever you desire. Now you see, it's very easy to say, okay, yes, we're farmland to one another. The wife is also, the husband is also a farmland to the wife, mind you, and the wife too should go to her farmland whenever she wants and whenever she desires. But there's something fundamental about this farmland thing that the Quran talks about. You have to know what kind of farm is your own. Is it poultry farm? Is it animal farm? Is it fish farm? Is it snail farm? If it is fish farm, what kind of fish do you have in your farm? Is it tilapia? Is it croaker? Is it catfish? Or is it a shark that you're actually having in your own kind of farm? What kind of animals do you rear if it is animal farm? Is it goat? Is it cow? Is it, is it ram? Is it rabbit that you're actually rearing in your animal farm? If it is crop farm, you have to know, am I planting a corn? What exactly am I? What is it that is in my own farm? A man and a woman must understand very well what kind of the farm is it that they actually have. You don't give the food that is meant for poultry farm, you don't give it to fish in the fish farm. You don't give fertilizers. You don't give fertilizers to fish to feed on instead of using the same fertilizer for a crop farm. In other words, you must understand this farmland that the Quran is talking about, which one exactly is your own. If it is fish farm, you have to know what kind of fish you are rearing. Is it tilapia, like I asked earlier on, or is it catfish, or is it shark? Look, if your own fish farm is goldfish, you know all you need is just to get a small tank, a very small, this kind of thing we have in, aquarium in our homes. You can just put your fish farm there and be dropping crumbs of bread or whatever thing you feed that fish, that goldfish with. That goldfish will be happy, it will be healthy, it will grow, it will do well. But what if your own fish is farm? Your own fish is a shark. Your own farmland, your fish farm, you are rearing sharks. You can't keep shark in a container that is meant for a goldfish. And and you don't go and get a small tank and say you want to squeeze a shark inside it. Something will happen now. And let's even say you have goldfish and you also have a shark. If you put two fishes, let me use that plural this time around. If you put them in the same tank or in the same aquarium, one fish will eat another one. So it takes knowledge and wisdom for a man to know the combination of people you put together. Let's say, for instance, now you have relatives that you want them to live with your wife. Your relatives are sharks. Your wife is a goldfish. You know, by the time you go to work and come back, one fish will eat another one. And then the home will always be full of troubles and turbulence. There will be no peace in that family because you did not use knowledge and wisdom to correctly understand and interpret what kind of farmland is it that you have and how you are supposed to treat them, look after them, and and watch over them. This is very important, it's very significant and fundamental, and it's responsible for the pain and pleasure that we feel in marriage. That is wrong combination of people and not understanding the kind of farmland that Allah has provided for you. Let me now sum it all up by mentioning the aspects of the pleasure that we should seek. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. You know what the Prophet said? The Prophet said, Inna dunya the whole of this world is full of enjoyment, and the best of all enjoyment is the righteous wife. If the Prophet was speaking to women, the Prophet would have said, the best of all enjoyment is a righteous husband. This enjoyment that the Prophet emphasized means that marriages are supposed to be enjoyed, not to be endured. We should learn to look for the pleasurable aspect of marriage. Number one, bedroom business is one of the things that bring pleasure in marriage. Husband and wife must learn how to satisfy themselves bedmatically. Sorry, I'm inventing those languages. You are English people there, so you know these things very well. I'm just making these English words up. Bedmatically, don't check dictionary. I just made it up. And you understand what I mean. When people learn to enjoy themselves bedmatically, it makes it easier for them to derive more pleasure in marriage. Number two, when husband and wife learn how to enjoy life itself, Allahu Akbar, whether thick or thin, whatever thin life brings, whatever pebbles or stones that life throws at you in your marriage, learn to understand that there should be more pleasure in that marriage than pain. If you don't look for pleasure, you will always experience pain. If you are not looking at what can bring pleasure, what will bring pain will always happen to you. In other words, if you don't happen to life, life will happen to you. If you don't happen to things, things will happen to you. If you don't look for pleasure for one another, then pain will follow you. This goes out to people who don't know how to enjoy life. They don't know how to make life easy for themselves. They don't know how to, generally just enjoy yourself. That's what Allah has made marriages to be. Now, tell me, how will a couple enjoy themselves when they keep fighting over non-issues, when they keep quarreling over non-issues, when they keep keeping malice against one another? Imagine malice against each other. Some people are so good with keeping malice, so they say that they can keep malice for days. And the Prophet said, one believer should not keep it from another believer for more than 3 days. Now, these couples will keep malice for weeks. Over what now? Over what? A person that is still keeping malice, that person doesn't understand the kind of pleasure that marriages are supposed to bring. And so a husband is keeping malice with the wife now. The wife will cook food, he will not eat. Somebody will crack joke, he will not laugh. He will be squeezing his face, he will be feeling pain, he will be inflicting pain on others. All of these things are immaturity. They are not mature ways of handling issues, and they are among the things that keep pleasure away from us in marriages. Let people resolve their differences and keep away from any of these things that will bring pain into their lives. Like I said, if you don't happen to things will happen to you. We must create memories that will bring a lot of pleasure. We must, we must be creative enough to bring about things that's going to bring pleasure to us. We should learn to play. We should learn to rest. We should learn to unwind. We should learn to be with one another. When I say play, I asked a number of couples some time ago, and I said, how do you people play? And they were looking at me as if play as how. They think it is only Allah, but they think it's only in the bedroom that husband and wife play. I said, you see, you don't play games, you don't go out, you don't do things that can put both of you together. as in playing games, even this Ludo game that people play. So long as you are not aiding and betting, you are playing it for pleasure. Why don't couples do that? Maybe where you people are over there, you people are well, let's say you are better civilized, and maybe you people are able to find your ways in knowing how to play together. But if care is not taken, if we take life too seriously, we will not be able to derive any pleasure from life. Talk less of any pleasure from marriages itself. Yes, thank you. People should engage in conversations. People should engage in communications, husband and wife. And two more things before I wrap it up. One of them is to avoid pain in marriage. We must understand that nobody can have it all. There will be some things you have, there will be some things you lack. You must understand that you cannot have everything in life. Allahu Akbar. Let me give you an example. I always cite this example. I love it a lot. You know the peacock. The peacock is one of the most beautiful birds that Allah has created. But as beautiful as the peacock is, the peacock cannot sing. Allahu Akbar. The voice of the peacock is so abrasive, it is so ugly. Peacock is a family of the pheasant family amongst the birds, but peacock cannot sing the way a small nightingale can sing, the way a small bird can sing. The beautiful peacock cannot sing like that. In other words, nature, or let me say Almighty Allah, hardly combines everything for one single person. For you to be that beautiful and be able to sing at the same time, Allah doesn't combine it for people. No matter how perfect your marriage is, there will always be something that is missing. There will always be something that you lack, either as a husband or as a wife. Let me give you another example. You see, the elephant has very big head and very short neck. Sometimes you don't even notice that the neck is there for an elephant. Now, this same elephant, another animal, the giraffe, has small head but very long neck. Allahu Akbar. What if Allah gives long neck to the elephant and short neck to the giraffe? I want you to imagine what's going to happen if that should be the case. Number one, the head, Allahu Akbar, the head of the elephant will be too heavy for the elephant to use the neck to carry, because the neck will not be strong enough to carry the big head of the elephant. But Allah in His infinite mercy has so done it to the extent that whatever thing the giraffe can pick from the tree, the elephant can also pick it, because Allah has compensated the short neck of the elephant by giving it the long trunk that the elephant has. With this trunk, the elephant can pick something in the tree, and with the long neck, though with small head, the giraffe can also pick the same thing in the tree. Allah has given you what He has given to you. He may not give it to somebody else, and that is why you cannot use somebody else's ruler to measure your own life. You cannot compare another person's life to yours. If you want to eliminate pain in your marriage or in your life, ensure that you don't copy other people's lives, because you don't know their pains, you don't know their stories, you don't know what they are going through, you don't know their relations, you don't know the kind of trials they are going through. If you look at your own life very well, you see Allah still giving you something that is better than those other people's own. In fact, there's no room for comparison, because everybody is unique on their own, the same way every marriage is unique in the way Allah has put it in place. And I want you to look at this also finally in this point I want to make. The neck of the giraffe is very long, but what sound does the giraffe make? The giraffe is dumb, it cannot talk. Allahu Akbar. Had it mean it is the length of a person's neck that will determine how loud the person's voice should be, the giraffe would have been the loudest animal in the world. But it has long neck, but it cannot talk. The same thing with the camel also has long neck, but they cannot talk. Allahu Akbar. And they don't make any sound that is so spectacular, even as animals. In other words, you can't have it all. If you want to derive a lot of pleasure in your marriage, remember what the Quran says and what the Hadith of the Prophet says. The wa'asa an takrahu shay'an fa huwa khairul lakum. In another place, it is says it is said that you may love a thing, but it is evil for you, and you may hate something, but Allah will put a lot of goodness in it for you. If you can eliminate these painful things from your life, you'll be able to derive the pleasure that you are supposed to have. And if we should have a line like this, we have pain by one side and pleasure on one side. The more you move towards the pain, the farther you are from the pleasure. And the more you move towards the pleasure, the farther you are from pain. It is like, west and east, or like north and south. You have to begin to gravitate as husband and wife, as a couple and as a family, begin to gravitate towards the pleasure, so that Almighty Allah can multiply that pleasure for you. And lastly, the last point I want to make here is concerning what constitutes the secrets of marriage. Yes. What is one of the secrets of pleasure in marriage? And that is the concept of shura. What do we mean by shura? That is mutual consultation. According to one scholar, they gave us one example from the life of Anabi Adam, alayhi salatu wasalam. Anabi Adam and his wife Hawa. They said Adam was giving an advice to one of his children, that is Seth, the one we call Anabi Shitu. He said to Shitu, he said, my son, وَشَاوِرْ فِي الْأُمُورِ كُلِّهَا لَوْ شَاوَرْتُ الْمَلَائِكَةَ لَنْ يُصِيبَنِي مُصَابًا. He said, my son, respect of your life, because لَوْ شَاوَرْتُ الْمَلَائِكَةَ, if I had consulted the angels, لَنْ يُصِيبَنِي مَا أَصَابَنِي, what happened to me will never have happened to me. We all remember the story of Anabi Adam. Allah elevated him by virtue of his knowledge to the extent Allah asked the angels to bow down for him. Look at that. But when Iblis came to tempt Adam, Adam should have sought the advice of the angels. If Adam had said, oh, Jibril, Malaika Jibril, please come. There's this guy here that says I should go near this tree that Allah says I shouldn't. What's your opinion about it? Jibril would have advised him that, look, don't, because Adam had more knowledge in his own eyes, more than the angels, he didn't consult the angels. And that is part of why Shaitan succeeded in leading Adam astray to make that mistake. And that's why it said, Lao shawartul malaika. If I had consulted the angels, what happened to me will never have happened to me. In other words, the interpretation of that in our lives is that no marriage can survive on solo. Don't do solo marriage. Make your marriage to be a marriage that you have people you can consult whenever there's problem. People have many experiences, and it's not all problems you can solve by searching the Google for answer to. You can't get all solutions on the internet, but consult blood and flesh human beings that you can trust. They are the third parties that we have been advised to seek opinion from. The Quran says about the believers, وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَ بَيْنَهُمْ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Their matters amongst them is by mutual consultation and the spend of whatever Allah has provided for them. Meaning that they spend knowledge, they spend experience, they share knowledge, they share experience with others. So I want to say, everybody should learn to consult with those who know. First, alu ahla dhikri. What you actually think is a thing of pain to you, if you consult the right people, it's going to become pleasure for you. You don't keep ailments to yourself. If you have medical problem, consult a physician so that they can advise you on what to eat, what not to eat, and how to remain healthy. If you have bedroom business, don't keep it to yourself. If you have bedroom issues, don't keep it to yourself. Consult experts, consult psychologists, consult therapists so that they can advise on what you can do to improve the enjoyment of your bedroom business. If you have life issues, if your problem is legal, consult a lawyer, consult a barrister. If your problem is spiritual, consult those who know the Quran that can make dua, that can pray for you. If your problem is intellectual, consult the learned people, consult the professors. They are going to tell you what you can do to improve your intellectual prowess. In other words, involve other people in your matters so that you can retain more pleasure, and you can do away with the pains that are actually nibbling your soul like snacks, the pains that are actually hurting you in the soul of your soul, the pains that are like thorns in your soul that makes you to be leaping up and down without walking straight in life. Let everybody try and make sure that we derive more pleasure from our marriages than the pain. And like I said, if you don't look for pleasure, pain will find you. If you don't work hard to make pleasure, then you don't even need to do anything before pain begin to happen to you. And if you don't happen to things, things will begin to happen to you. And the Quran concludes that inna fi dhalika la ayatin liqawmin yatafakkarun. Indeed, in these are signs for those who can reflect and those who can think deeply. So I want to encourage all of us tonight. Let us think deeply about the words of Allah, about the verses of the glorious Quran. Let's understand that marriages are meant to be enjoyed, not to be endured. And let us see that we love each other, we show mercy towards one another, because marriage itself is an act of ibadah. And what's the meaning of ibadah? Ibadah is service, or when you serve somebody. We are in marriages to serve Almighty Allah by being of good service to one another. And if we can do this, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward us with Jannatul Firdaus, where the peak of all pleasures are. And we are not going to be there alone. We are going to be there with our spouses. So imagine how beautiful it is to have pleasure in this world and to have pleasure in the hereafter. That's Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, Ustaz Abdul Fattah Adeyemi, for that very inspiring
Thank you very much, bro.
presentation. We thank you so much. May Allah, put it in your Mizan al-Khair. A lot, tonight has been a night of a lot of, metaphors and allegories in relation to how we can enjoy pleasure and avoid pains in our marriages. It's very eye-opening in the sense that, marriage, one philosopher indicated that, marriage is like governance. You have to put the right person. If you want governance to work, you need to put the right persons in office. And then, it's a continual learning, process, even when you put the right persons in office. And to avoid pains and perhaps maybe to enjoy the pleasure of marriage, I dare to say that actually it starts even before we enter into the marriage. You don't enter into a marriage with your eyes closed. As Ustaz Abdul Fattah mentioned, compatibility is very, very important. Now, if you look at the verse on marriage in the Quran, and the tarkib, the structure of the Quran, it's not by accident. When, in Surah An-Nisa, when Allah says that, فَانْكِهُ مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ فَانْكِهُ مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ. It says, marry those who seem good to you amongst women, and similarly to women, because the Quran says, so when the Quran talks about in relation to women, it is also counter in relation to men, similarly. So that verse, Allah could have said, "Fankihu nisa," marry women, but no, Allah says, "Fankihu ma taba lakum minan nisa." So if you want to marry those who are pleasing to you, amongst women, similarly, women should marry those that are pleasing to them among men. So compatibility. Actually, one of the conditions, one of the shurut, one of the main shurut of marriage is kafa'a. They call it kafa'a, compatibility between, although the elements differ from school of law to school of law, but compatibility is very, very important. And the allegories given by Ustaz Abdul Fattah is quite, on point in relation to compatibility. Similarly in Surah An-Nisa, he mentioned another verse, in relation to, you cannot actually marry a woman against their wish. You have to, there should be some compatibility and some voluntary intention of wanting to go into the marriage, and that is actually before the marriage starts. So in preparing the ground, we need to really work on it. And when we are in the marriage, it's a continuous learning process, as Ustaz Abdul Fattah has mentioned. We thank you so much for this. It's very, very important for us to reflect, and many of the metaphors you gave are really spot on. May Allah reward you and put it in your Mizan al-Khair. Now, we'll have opportunities to take a lot of questions. Questions are coming in already. But before we do that, it's past 10 now. Let's go to the control room to take a little bit of interlude before we come back for questions and a little bit of discussion. Bismillah.
Just under 60 seconds, I'm going to tell you why investing in this opportunity will change your life. Are you ready? Start the clock. Over 20 years ago, a group of believers acquired a derelict pub slap bang in the centre of the Old Kent Road. As we've grown, so has our need for space. And we are embarking upon the journey of a lifetime to extend the good work of this masjid. And we need you to join us on this journey. Let me remind you of Allah's promise. Whoever builds a mosque for the sake of Allah, Allah will build for him a house in paradise. And it doesn't stop there. The masjid that we build will continue to give you rewards for as long as it remains standing, perhaps decades after you pass away. Think about all the people who attend the mosque to pray 5 times a day, every single day of the year. The Jummah service that is attended by hundreds of people, the hundreds of youngsters learning how to recite the Quran, and your fellow brothers and sisters breaking their fast in the month of Ramadan, right here in this masjid. Inshallah, you'll get a slice of the reward. All of these and more coming straight to your scale of good deeds. So what are you waiting for? Help us build this masjid. Sponsor a prayer space and get your friends, neighbours and loved ones to sponsor one too. Or even better, get together and sponsor a whole saf. And inshallah, watch how Allah elevates you in this life and the next.
The Old Kent Road Mosque and Islamic Cultural Center. The building is now 100 years old and it's set for demolition after Ramadan. Should that be the end of this Islamic heritage? You can help rebuild this mosque by donating, volunteering, and sharing this message. May Allah bless you. Ameen.
Jazakumullahu khairan jaza for those clips, which reminds us, the last clip indicated that the Old Kent Road Mosque is, scheduled for demolition after Ramadan, last Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, demolition has actually started. I'm very nostalgic. Many of us, most of us who have been using the mosque, we felt very, there was a lot of nostalgia when we saw the building coming down. And there will be some updates from the director of projects. Work has started now. The demolition has started, and inshallah, very soon, the glorious, 6-story building will start emerging from that. But we need a lot of money. This goes to show, for the fact that the building has come down, is coming down now, indicates that yes, we are now here for business. We are serious for business, and we cannot really achieve this aim without really, your help. Everyone listening out there, we need to first thank everyone who has donated towards, because without money, we cannot actually reach where we are now. So every penny that people have donated, it's what is making us being able to, hit the ground and break the ground now, starting the demolition. But we still have a very long way to go. This is the first phase. We have 3 phases, phases or 4. This is the first phase now. We are really, by the time we finish the first phase, early next year, I believe people will be proud of, what has been achieved. So for that, we thank everybody that has donated in the past and continue to donate. And we call on all people of goodwill, Muslims all over the world, in-house, external, out of the UK, everywhere. This is our mosque. It's for the mosques, for the Muslims of all over the world. So we call you to continue donating, to this project, and may Allah continue to enrich your pocket. We are doing everything that we can. We just really have to thank, members of the Muslim Association of Nigeria in-house. People have been doing a lot in relation to donations. So it provides opportunity for everyone out there to be part of this, to be able to earn a lot of reward, both here and in this world, in the hereafter. So continue to donate, towards, the project. And when the project director starts, giving us feedback, inshallah, later, we'll be able to appreciate this more. Now, let us take a few questions. Let's start with taking a few questions. And then after we've taken a few questions, we'll call the project director, and the finance secretary is also there to give us a report on where we are financially. So control room, questions, please.
Assalamu alaikum. The first question is, Nikah ceremony should be made public in Islam. What if I don't want people to know I'm married? I only have my children to witness my second wedding as a remarried divorcee. Is this valid in Islam?
Okay, Ustaz Al Fatah, That's a question for you. Bismillah.
Thank you very much, Prof. People have various reasons for doing what they have to do. And amongst the shurut of nikah, that's among the conditions for nikah to be valid. We have al-ijab wal-kubul, that offer an acceptance. That means nobody is being forced into the marriage. We also have the aspect of the dowry itself, that's giving the mahar to the woman. We also have the Prophet said, "La nikahan illa bi waliyin wa shahidai al-adl." There should be no nikah except with the wali. That is, somebody who is a trustee, somebody who is standing for you. And then shahidai al-adl, that is 2 witnesses also have to be there. So once a marriage is witnessed and we have offer and acceptance, and we have the exchange of dowry, and then of course the couples are not forced into this relationship. The 5th one is for there to be walima. The Prophet said, "Awlim walau bishat." Do walima even with a small lamb. Do something. It's supposed to be a thing of joy. Now, this 5th aspect, there's no ceiling to say this is the number of people that you should do walima with. But when it comes to witnessing, once the people witnessing are adults and they understand what they are witnessing, then the witnesses are sufficient for that. You see, the approach to the wedding or marriage ceremony of somebody who is marrying for the first time and somebody who is marrying the 2nd time or the 3rd time, they differ in such a way that Allah has made ease for us in this matter. The woman may have her personal reasons for not wanting to make it public because of where she works or where she lives, or some of kind of dignity and honor that she's trying to protect in the society. In my opinion, she's free to do it with this minimal requirement of the wedding being witnessed by the trusted people. In fact, the people who witness a marriage, they may not be more than 4, and if they're going to do that in a masjid, or they're going to do that in a sitting room somewhere, or in the corner of a park somewhere, they're allowed to do that, so long as they follow the very, very compulsory aspect of what constitutes a nikah. So, I'm happy that the questioner has made us understand that this person is marrying maybe for the first time after being divorced or after being a widow, As a result of that, she's allowed to keep it private, not secret. There's a difference between keeping something secret and keeping it private. If she wants to keep it private, she's allowed as far as Islam is concerned. But to keep it secret is that there will be nobody that will witness it. You don't do a nikah in Islam that is not witnessed by anyone. So let there be witnesses amongst those people that you trust that can stand in for you to say, yes, we were there when this was done. This can be conducted by the imam in the masjid, and your nikah is still valid, it is still okay, it is still acceptable. May Allah put a blessing in this nikah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakum Allah khaira jaza for that, response. Any further questions, please?
Can difference in religious belief between 2 couples bring harmony and happiness in their home?
Okay.
That's a difference in belief. Yeah, I thought he would say, can difference in belief bring a problem between them? But the question is whether it can bring harmony. It depends on the belief we are referring to. No matter how much couples want to love each other, if the nikah falls within the categories of people that should not be married, or people that the Quran frowns upon, then no matter how much of harmony there is, as far as Islamic principles are concerned. For example, Islam permits that the Muslim man may marry a non-Muslim woman from amongst the people of the book, that's the Jews and the Christians. And of course, terms and conditions still apply. And a Muslim man, because of so many reasons that the Quran has put in place, and the scholars will explain in detail for us in this regard. If this is what we mean by differences in faith, then it is clear. As for Muslim to Muslim, we still have some other issues of Akida amongst us that some people take to be very, very serious indeed. And anything that is going to become a problem in the marriage in that regard, we are expected to avoid all of these things. I remember when Prof was making comment on what I said, he mentioned that aspect of you don't you marry those that feel good to you, that seem good to you amongst women, and that has to do with a lot of compatibility. So if there's going to be disharmony as a result of differences in faith or as a result of incompatibility in faith, then it is better to avoid it as much as possible. So in my own opinion, I think differences in faith may and may not enhance the harmony we are looking for in marriage, depending on what perspective we are looking at it. And like I said, if fundamentally it's between Islam and non-Islam, then that is a very serious matter to consider. If it's a matter of Akida between Muslim and Muslim, and they believe that, okay, I don't like this one's concept of the deen or something like that, well, I want the couples to speak to the learned people, the imams in their area, so that they can objectively assess the details between them. Because what you may consider to be a problem when it comes to different Akida is not a problem to some people. They don't even see any big deal about that. But it's a very serious matter to some people, to the extent that when you make salat, the differences in the way we make our recitations can even cause quarrel in some communities. And the way you do your iftar or the way you do your tarawih can even be a problem among some communities. So in some other communities, they don't see any big deal in it. That is why I would like us to specifically speak to the imams in our areas so that they can be very objective in telling you whether this is going to constitute a problem in marriages or not. May Allah continue to guide us.
I mean, Jazakumullah khair jaza. Thank you so much. I mean, and all these fall within the concept of kafar. You know, some time ago I was discussing, it's really poignant, as you mentioned, even within Islam. You find issues of Akida can be very difficult, create a lot of, issues amongst, couples. And you find actually in some sects, I was speaking because I have, friends who are Ahmadis, and I was really having a discussion with them, indicating that, because Ahmadis traditionally, they don't really encourage, they don't actually like the Ahmadi Muslims to marry outside, the Ahmadis. So I was really teasing around, but exactly. You are Muslims, why don't you? And the Ahmadi scholar quickly says, he says kafa'ah. He said, it's about compatibility. The compatibility in faith. He says, it's about it can cause, a problem in relation to that. But it's very, very important that we are talking about this. If, for example, mainstream Sunni Muslims, issues of Akida can be issues, but it can be talked about, as Ustad Abdul Fattah has mentioned. When this happens, talk to the scholars, because a lot of the time, yes, we want to improve ourselves in relation to our faith and things like that. Sometimes, depending on one's knowledge, if there are issues between the couple in relation to one, taking the Akida to another level, and the other seeing that, well, you are just doing too much. Perhaps a scholar can then talk to them and balance it in relation to, okay, look, you can balance it, in this particular way, rather than, because there are limits in relation to their minimal limits, their maximum limits in relation to everything, even including, the concept of Akida. So may Allah continue to make it easy for us. Talk to scholars if you have these problems. It's always important. Fas'alu ahla zikr in kuntum la ta'lamun. Ask those who know if you do not know, especially on questions of Akida. Because in these days, little things that does not actually matter in relation to faith. I've spoken to couples, little things. People bring it up, seriously, and it becomes, really very, very serious in marriage relationships. So may Allah guide us, all right. Further questions, please.
We have a question that is like, we have a question that is like a specific example of what you just talked about. I don't know if you want to say anything to it. The person says, to be specific, my husband believes I have not improved in Iman after several years of marriage because I have not improved my length of hijab. I wear proper hijab that covers my bosom down to my abdomen, but he says he prefers me to wear a full himar. It's causing a lot of friction between us, and I'm practicing Islam sincerely, but feel more comfortable in my kind of hijab.
Yes, I mean, that's an important question. I mean, Ustaz Al-Fatah, bismillah.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Well, we have to make room for ourselves in Islam. You know, there's this thing that says that you cannot force a flower to bloom. If the flower is closed, you cannot compel it to open. If you want to force a flower to open, you tear the petals and you ruin a whole lot of things. I want to encourage us that there's a concept of sabr, being patient with one another. Both sides will need to shift and meet in the middle point. If a person has taken care of the basic requirements of the Sharia with regards to their dressings, yes, it is nice and understandable. But if you remember very well, I said earlier on that marriage in Islam goes beyond the rules of do's and don'ts. There's the aspect of peace and tranquility. There's also the aspect of love and mercy that must be practiced by the husband and the wife. Now, in this case, now we're supposed to shift for whom? We can blame the husband for being too hard, but we should also talk to the wife too. What is the big deal there? What is so difficult for you to do in doing some of these things that you feel is going to bring a lot more of goodness and affection between you and your husband? I don't think anybody is forcing somebody to do things here, but people, husband and wife, should learn to cooperate with one another and find ways of shifting to the middle point. Almighty Allah has made it understandable to us in the Quran, where Allah says, amongst human beings, وَمِنْهُمْ مُقْتَصِدٌ وَمِنْهُمْ سَابِقٌ بِالْخَيْرَاتِ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. They're amongst those people, you know, they are foremost in practicing their deen, and there are those who are just in the middle course, and there are amongst them that are zalimun nafsi, those who have wronged their souls. We have these three categories of people. Some are very, very foremost in practicing their faith, and some, you know, they're just like yo-yo. They're here like this today, they are there like that tomorrow. So make room for everyone to grow naturally. But even you, when they tell you to improve, why don't you try and make improvement in your ways of dressing? If that is pleasing to your husband and what is asking you to do is not haram, I want you to also try and make room for that. However, la ikraha fi din, you cannot be compelled to do things that you don't want to do. But if we are talking about compulsion, we are talking about everybody hold to their guns, then you'll see that the marriage will not move forward. So I want to encourage both husband and wife to shift until they meet in the middle and let everybody's iman begin to grow and improve. When you see somebody encouraging you to do some things, try and do it so long as it's not haram for you to wear your long headdress or your long hijab the way your husband wants to wear it. I don't think it's such a big deal like that. But try and shift a little to what can be pleasing to your husband also. The reason why you need to do this is the Prophet ﷺ said, لو أمرت أحدا أن يسجد لأحد لأمرت الرجل لأمرت النساء أن تسجد ل I cannot remember exactly how the Prophet used that word, but the interpretation of that is, if I were to command anybody to prostrate for another, I would have commanded the wife to prostrate for the husband because of because of the greatness of his right upon her. If the Prophet ﷺ is saying that, it means you should try and see how obedient you can be to your husband in this situation. Don't forget, he's the one in charge, and the Quran says, "Ar-rijalu qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa." Men are the ones to set the woman upright. This is my own interpretation. It can also mean men are the protectors of women, because this qawwam is a word from qiyam, to stand upright, to do things the right way. And the man has been given the mandate to ensure that things are upright in his family. If that is what your husband wants, and it is not wanting too much from you, I want to advise, in my own opinion, that the woman should find ways of being obedient to her husband, especially in a way that is not harmful to her, is not demeaning to her, It is not rubbishing her dignity. It's not affecting her honor as a woman. Rather, it's going to enhance and improve the goodness and the love between herself and her husband. Don't let this matter of hijab come between your heart and the heart of your husband. Men are very physical in nature, and men have their own different ways of thinking about something. Any slight disobedience to your husband, men will take it like, and some men will even think they're already losing control of their family if they cannot tell their wives what to do and what to wear. So long as he's not asking you to do what is haram, it is my own opinion that you please be obedient to your husband. And if you do that, I believe strongly there'll be a lot more of goodness that will come your way too, because you are trying to abide by the advice of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. May Allah make it easy for us.
I mean, Jazakumullah khair jaza. I mean, time is really very, spent. Let us bring in the, director, project director to please, give us an update on the demolition and also the temporary accommodation in a couple of minutes. Bismillah, project director.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
We thank Almighty Allah for the opportunity. Let me first of all greet my colleague, my friend and a brother, Brother Abdul Fatai. It's been a long time I see you, and you've never changed. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to be with you. And let me say hi to your wife and the children in Asokoro if you are still there. So now let me go straight to the point. Yeah, let me go straight to the point. Alhamdulillah, I'll share the photo, the recent photo with you. And I want to say Alhamdulillah. In the construction program, we have a key date and we have met up with the key date. We have a milestone. One of it is the demolition. And Alhamdulillah, Allah has given us to achieve it. Join me to say Alhamdulillah, because that's a key date for us. And that's the milestone on this project. So my thanking cannot stop. The reason why it does because Prophet said it. We need to thank the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? It's you. It's you. It's you. It's you. I'm talking about the people. I'm talking about the members. I'm talking about the donors. I'm talking about volunteers. I'm talking about builders. I'm talking about the community leaders. I'm talking about fathers. I'm talking about mothers. I'm talking about religious leaders. And I'm talking about people that are doing the fundraising both in their business and the private life. So let me quickly share. You can see now that is what is going on that building. And that's why I said we have a key date and we have a milestone and we have met it. So you can see what Allah has done for us. And then at this stage now, there's key thing I want to tell every one of us. The building was our mosque. It's still our mosque. But at the moment now, it's being occupied and managed by the builder. By the rules of the health and safety, no one is allowed to go to a construction site if you are not inducted. What I mean, giving you the site induction. So at this junction, I'm appealing to our members, to our fathers, to our mothers, to our brothers and sisters. Please, if you don't have anything to do, please don't go to the building. Don't near it. We will promise that we will be giving updates and recent photos so that you will know what is going on this. The next stage after demolition is piling and the foundations. What I mean by that, let me call it foundation, is we prepare the ground and we continue doing what is going to make the building to be a building. And that is reinforcing it, piling, and we are making arrangements on it. I want to seize this opportunity to thank our neighbors, They are so cooperative with us. Despite that, we're serving them a notice. You can see there's a picture I want to share with you now to see how our neighbors are being very, very good to us. Let me show you so that you could appreciate where I'm coming from. Can you see? This is the next building to us because our site is a confined site. If you know one of our head, Baba Yusuf, this is the entrance. We block this entrance and we now do what we call the traffic management for the safety for our neighbors. This particular entrance has been closed and it's going to be closed for several weeks. You can see if we don't have a good neighbor, it's going to be very difficult for us. And I want to appeal to our members, please, you are not allowed to go to the construction site to take a picture. Please, we promise we'll be giving you a picture, a photo that it could be a memorable one for you. So at this stage now, after the demolition, we are going into the piling and we are making arrangement, getting the approval. The last time I spoke to you, I said we have two constraints. One of them is the legislation for pre-commencement condition. And alhamdulillah, about 2 weeks ago, we've gotten discharge and approval for the critical one. Yes, we are waiting for the logistic one, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for us. I want to seize this opportunity to thank all our members, all the people that have been donated and continue to donate for us. May Almighty Allah guide us to see the beginning of this construction, and we ask Him for Him to allow us to see post-completion of this project, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for that update. I mean, we have the courage to start, and inshallah, we have the courage to complete it. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to bring a building down and then, plan to, rebuild in the way we are doing. The Yoruba says, inshallah, we pray, inshallah, ta'ala, in our lifetime, and according to plan, bismillah, we'll be able to bring the building back in a very, very, very beautiful way. Let's call on the financial secretary because this needs money to get done. Financial secretary, very briefly, please, can you give us an update on where we are because of time, please? Finance? Okay, I guess the financial secretary is not there today. So inshallah, we hope next week, we'll have an update on the financial situation. Madam Shan said he wanted to say something based on the question that was asked. I will give you that opportunity when I hand over back to you. You can comment on it before we round up because it's after 10:30 now. Let me thank our speaker today, Ustaz Abdul Fattah. Thank you so much for your time. May Allah put this in your mizan and fire. All those questions that were not answered, hopefully, inshallah, maybe next week we'll have a look at them. And we have tried the 9 o'clock to 10:30 slots for 2 occasions. Now we will need to consider whether we will stick with that or perhaps maybe change again. So inshallah ta'ala, we'll keep you updated on that. But still next week we are doing 9 to 10:30 until we review whether we stick to that or after. Now, before we hand over, today's Ya Ayyuhal Ladhina Amanu comes from Surah An-Nisa because of the topic we have looked at. Quran chapter 4, verse 19. Allah says, Ya Ayyuhal Ladhina Amanu, La yahillu lakum an tarithu an-nisa karhan, wa la ta'duluhunna litazhabu biba'd ma ataytumuhunna illa an yatina bi fahishatin mubayyina wa ashiruhunna bil ma'ruf fa in karihtumuhunna fa asa an takrahu shay'a wa yaj'al Allahu fihi khayran kathira. And this is a very long verse, but it, summarizes everything that we have. Allah says, "Oh, you who believe, it is not lawful for you, that you should inherit or take women against their will. Similarly, men, and do not, force them in order that you may do not deal with them harshly, in order that you may take part of what you have already given them. The Quran says, وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, and treat them kindly. Similar, women are expected to treat their husbands kindly, because you may hate something in them. And it may be that Allah, you dislike a thing when Allah has placed abundant good in it. A lot of the time when we go through ups and downs, we don't see beyond our noses. If you have patience, at the end of the day, it may be that Allah, through that, has put in goodness in it for us. I have a friend who will tell you that a lot of the time we look at pain as a bad thing. He says there's pleasure in pain sometimes. I have a friend who says that. He says sometimes we think pain is bad. Sometimes there's pleasure in pain. Actually, you learn a lot of lessons for it, and you become wiser. So that verse, Quran chapter 4, verse 19, let's reflect over it. It's, very, very relevant to the topic we've discussed today. May Allah see us till next week, inshallah. I will now hand over to Malam Shams to sign us off.
Prof, if you don't mind, just a second. Let me thank the speaker of today, Dr. Abdul Fattah. May Allah reward you. And also, if you can lead us to recite Surah Al-Ahad for one of our mother who passed away this afternoon, the mother of Elijah
Mebude.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's all together recite Surah Al-Ikhlas for the mom of Elijah Mebude, who passed away in Nigeria today. May Allah forgive and put her in an Al-Jannah of Firdaus. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. May Allah put this in her barzakh and put light in her barzakh and accept her in Jannah Firdaus. Bismillah, Malan Shams. You are muted. We can't hear you. Malan Shams, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. Maybe you have some issues with your connection. You are still muted. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Technical hitch. Perhaps, we just have to sign off. Jazakumullah khairan jaza. Thank you. On behalf of Malan Shams, he says, he also thanks, Ustaz Abu Fattah Adiyemi, and he thanks every one of us for being online tonight for this program. May Allah reward every one of us. We'll see every one of us next week, inshallah. So let's sign off, control room.
My parents chose to name me Old Kent Road Islamic and Cultural Center as a baby, and when the time came for me to start my family, my daughter was also named at this masjid.
Same as my story, I was also born and named there. I attended Maracas and used to play football after classes with my mates.
The Old Kent Road Mosque and Islamic Cultural Center, MAN UK, is a community where all Muslims enjoy the bond of brotherhood and the sweetness of sisterhood.
Old Kent Road Masjid has played an important role in my spiritual and social development and that of my young family.
It is a home, a place of solace for everyone, especially the Muslims of African descent living in London, United Kingdom.
This is a heritage we treasure and must preserve for the next generation. We need you to make this dream come true.
Kindly donate and encourage your family, friends, and loved ones to contribute towards the rebuilding of our mosque.
May Allah bless and reward you abundantly. Allahumma Ameen.
Please help build our mosque.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. إنا عرضنا الأمانة على السماوات والأرض والجبال فأبين أن يحملنها وأشفقن منها وحملها الإنسان إنه كان ظلوما